Hi guys, welcome to the next video on the chapter Globalization and the Indian Economy. In the previous video we discussed about how globalization was realized and it came as a boon to the economies. In this video we'll be discussing what actually led to that situation of globalization. Now, what exactly is globalization? So globalization is nothing but integration or interconnection between the different countries and the economies. So we know the goods, we are getting goods from Europe, we are giving goods, exporting goods to Europe, we are getting goods from US, we are exporting goods to US. So to all over the world we are exporting goods and we are getting goods in return, and not just goods, we are giving services. We have BPO services, KPO services. Our IT industry is quite prevalent across the world. Then a lot of other services are also on offer in India, and we get a lot of goods from China, a lot of goods from South Korea, from ASEAN countries. So altogether, goods, services, technology, people, everything is moving across the world. So this has created the global world into an entire one integrated market. So that is basically the essence of globalization. Now, what exactly enabled globalization was, the first thing was the improvements in technology. So we had the obvious example of technology improvement is the internet technology, information and communication technology. So earlier it used to take letters had to be sent with posts and all, which used to take days to reach the customers and to the service providers, but now we can immediately send it through email. The world has become shorter, the time taken for these minuscule tasks has reduced considerably. So because of all these things, the world has become a smaller place. So the markets have integrated because of technology. So you can see that improvements not just in information technology but also in transportation as well. So earlier the goods used to take a long time, but now using aeroplanes, our goods are being delivered at a faster pace than ever before. Using internet, satellite communication, email, everything has become cheaper and quicker to share. So even from remote areas, so the world doesn't seem big enough now. This has been the impact of technology. The other thing that has actually helped is the governments realizing the positive impacts of opening their economies to the rest of the world. So like if we take the case of India, just after independence, India was not very liberal. So they had a foreign policy where exports and imports were quite limited. So there were barriers on foreign trade and foreign investment because we had just come out of the rule of a foreign country and we were afraid to open our economies again to them. So, and also we knew that our industries were not set up in such a way that they could compete with the rest of the world because we had just become independent. So because of these reasons, only imports of essential goods were allowed. Small important machineries, fertilizers, petroleum. So these were the things that were actually important and only import of that was allowed. For other things, the import cost was really high, import duty. Now, around 90s, the government realized that the way to actually help the economy grow many folds is that they open their economies to the rest of the world. So this was the major change in the foreign trade policy. Indian market was open to the foreign companies. Then what happened is that the competition that was brought about helped the Indian industry as well. The Indian companies rose up to the challenge. Then our markets were also open to the rest of the world, and the rest of the markets were also open to the Indian companies, and that actually was the game changer. So this liberalization of the foreign trade and investment brought a lot of success to the Indian economy. Now, if we want further success, like we have always craved for, to become the developed nations, the major role to play to increase foreign investment is that, first of all, we promote our industries in such a way that foreign countries want to invest in India. How that can be done is that if it is talking about manufacturing, we can set up SEZs. SEZs are special economic zones. Now, these are basically industrial zones. Now, when we set up the industrial zones, it is set up in such a way that they attract investment. How? We have world-class facilities available with us. We already have cheap labor cost, electricity, water, roads, transport, storage. So all that is world-class at a very cheap cost that will attract manufacturing. Then companies can also set up production units in the SEZs, and they won't have to pay taxes for an initial period of 5 years. So this makes SEZ a quite impressive phenomenon, quite an interesting task, because the companies who invest or come up and set up their production in SEZs, they don't have to pay tax for the first 5 years, and the companies can get attracted to invest in SEZs. This is one of the major ways through which we can attract foreign investment. The next thing is we have flexibility of labor laws. In India, there is quite a lot of disturbance related to labor laws, and that makes the foreign companies hesitant to invest in India. Now, if we give them flexibility of labor laws, we give them the flexibility to hire labor for short periods, then they will become more inclined towards investing in India. So these are some of the ways through which we can actually increase foreign investment. Now, another phenomenon of the 90s was the formation of World Trade Organization. So this World Trade Organization formed in 1995 after the Uruguay round in Marrakesh. So under the Marrakesh agreement, WTO was formed. Now, what exactly is WTO is that a group of nations, it was started by the developed countries, the group of nations come together and form an organization where they can actually help integrate the world, integrate the globalization of the economies. So, initiative of the developed countries, and the objective was to liberalize international trade. And as of 2006, 149 countries are members of World Trade Organization. Currently it is 164, but from your exam point of view, 149 is the number that you have to remember. Now, the role of WTO, primary role was that it will establish rules regarding international trade and see that the rules are obeyed. So it has a tribunal under which if the rules are not obeyed, what all to be done by the WTO. So the rules are framed by WTO, and it also monitors whether the countries are following those rules. The reason why rules are made is that not one country can dominate over others, and it should be a fruitful agreement of international trade between countries. So this was the objective of WTO. But the criticism against WTO has been that the developed countries are unfairly retained trade barriers. So they still have high import duties to not allow developing countries to send their products to those developed countries, but on the other hand, they have got access to the developing countries. So they don't allow trade barriers for the developing countries, but the developed countries have unfairly kept trade barriers. So this is the major criticism of WTO, which has led a lot of people to criticize WTO. Okay, so this is all about enabling or globalization. In the next video, we'll be discussing the impact of globalization. Thank you so much.